Howdy, everybody. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be a quick little episode, kind of a warm up, a preview, so to say, um, for Anomalous America, Kentucky, the 22nd, just 2 days away. Um, this article stands on its own. It ties in nicely with a lot of other things, but I had a little time and I felt like, why not pick something a little bit different? I always deal with caves and subterranean worlds, but this one it has a different ring to it. So, yeah. Thanks for joining me as always. Looking forward to Kentucky episode. It's going to be a really good one. I think they're all good, obviously, but let's jump into it. As always, thanks for being here. Thanks for watching my videos. Thanks for all your wonderful comments. The last few ones seem to be really enjoyed by you guys. So, this is semi-weekly South Kentuckian, Hopkinsville, Christian County, Kentucky, October 14th, 1884. And we're going to be jumping right here. The Mammoth Liar discovers a subterranean sea full of icebergs, sharks, and whales. You heard that right. And again, I apologize. It looks pretty good on the stream. All right. So we're right here, Litchfield, Kentucky. We're going to be covering some other interesting things from this region in the episode coming up. But yeah, as you saw, subterranean sea full of icebergs, sharks, and whales. What? The wonderful cave region of Kentucky surrounds Litchfield on all sides. It is in the midst of the Great Cave Belt, which is, properly speaking, a strip of country about 50 miles wide and 100 long that marks the line of some gigantic upheaval of the earth, which was the primary cause of the origin of Kentucky's great natural wonders. Litchfield is the nearest point on the Chesapeake and Ohio Railroad in the Mammoth Cave. The Grand Crystal Avenue, Diamond, 100 Dome, 100 Room, Evan Rogers, and numerous other caves of less note. I've been really thinking about this, and I might be doing like a follow-up episode later on down the road with just caves. There's probably 15 cave systems of note in Kentucky, and probably 5 of them are worthy of a video. So I might just do a full video. So let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoy the caves, subterranean stuff, let me know. And it's something I thought about doing because, we've covered some insane caves and I have a lot more insane caves to come. But Kentucky is just mind-blowing. Mind-blowing, really. And there's just so many good ones. So, yeah, if that's something you're interested in, let me know. New and wonderful discoveries of caves are constantly being made in this vicinity, yet excite only passing notice among the inhabitants, as caves are so common with them. Indeed, they seem to think the crust of the entire globe is as hollow as their own little world around them. Man, yeah. This time frame is so interesting. You know, this you find subjects like this postulated a lot in the 1700s, and then it goes silent until about the mid 1800s. But you get to you read enough ancient mining records, and they certainly thought this. And there are some mine systems in America that are mind blowing. The biggest mine operations in the world were going on here in America in the early 1800s. No coincidence there. Smash and grab type of thing, I would think. But yeah, the entire realm seems to be resting on an ocean. So the land that we reside on is on top of an ocean of sorts. And this was, I wouldn't say openly discussed but well hypothesized in the late 1700s, and then it disappeared from the forefront of discussion. And as these caves became more explored, it kind of revitalized that idea. In the Grand Avenue Cave, discovered about 2 years ago on the Rogers Farm, there is a bottomless pit, at least a pit that until a few days ago was considered bottomless, and out of which poured forth a mighty volume of cold frost air that would freeze a beef solid before morning if placed over the pit the night previous. Now, this is an important note. Um, and for those of you that may, again, be new to my material or are unfortunate enough to tune into Anomalous America, Kentucky, several of these cave systems around the globe, but focusing primarily on the Americas here in these episodes, they breathe air, and the air temperature fluctuates from cold to warm or cold to hot. And it can be 6 months, so regular that it can be 6 months of cold air and 6 months of warm air. In fact, we'll cover an article about the Mammoth Cave that discusses this exact thing, that there seems to be, even with these really, really, really big cave systems, I mean, we're talking 50 plus miles, right? The Mammoth Cave um, was said to be endless. And I agree with that statement. I believe all these caves, I mentioned a few of them in the article above, are connected to one another and that they go far and far and far on to other systems. And that we're going to talk about another article where someone was in the Mammoth Cave of Kentucky on the night of that astounding earthquake in 1812. And he discusses what he experienced. And he says that the rushing of air and the sound of essentially gunpowder or bombs going off below him, and that he was fortunate enough to make it out alive. And parts of the cave system were closed off forever after that event. So you can only imagine um, what existed before the event. I did a video on the earthquake of 1812, the New Madrid event, so called. And really, it took place everywhere along the Mississippi, from Chicago to the Gulf of Mexico and everywhere east of that. It was felt in Montana. It was a absolutely mammoth event, no pun intended. But yeah, the breathing, the fluctuating of air, really important, right? So again, the beef, this is a bottomless pit, beef frozen solid just by placing it over the hole. Even in the hottest weather, meat's frozen solid. No one dared to descend into the bottomless pit lest the cold should overpower him, and the mystery has remained unsolved until a few days ago. A party of scientists decided to, at last, make an attempt to solve the mystery. A derelict was erected over the pit, and two coils of rope were wound around the windlass. To this rope, a cage made of oaken planks was attached. A system of signals was also arranged with a wire and a gong. The exploring party consisted of 8, 4 only of which could be lowered at a time. They consisted of Colonel Jazz Alexander of Gallatin, Tennessee, the Honorable Hunter Wood of Hopkinsville, Kentucky, Colonel John P. Barrett of Hartford, Kentucky, and the writer of this article. Those who were to follow should be the first party to get through all right were Major George M. Proctor, State Geologist, Dan E. Sullivan, Esquire, Managing Editor of the Louisville Courier Journal, P. F. Rigsley, Esquire, City Editor of the Louisville Commercial, and J. F. Yeager, Esquire, of the Litchfield Sunbeam. The cold was intense, but with an abundance of heavy, warm clothing, we decided that we could certainly brave that very peculiar and mysterious cold fully as well as we could on the Earth's surface. We were well supplied with torches, matches, etc., as well as a basket of provisions, a few tools such as picks, shovels, etc. We entered the cage and gave the order to lower away, amidst the cheers of the great crowd who had come into the cave to see us off on our journey into the interior of the earth. Down, down we went 300, 500, 800 feet. Would we never reach the bottom? Would there be rope enough to reach? Were questions that we anxiously endeavored to solve. They lowered us very slowly, very cautiously. Twice we signaled them to stop until we could remove a projecting rock from the path of the cage or push the cage around it. At 1,120 feet, as we afterward ascended, we struck bottom. We signaled the joyful intelligence to those above and had the satisfaction of seeing the cage drawn up for the remainder of our party. The cold was simply intense, and it seemed an age eerie they reached us, although not over 15 minutes in all. No time was to be lost. A great avenue opened before us. The bottomless pit we had descended was its dome, through which a subterranean river had undoubtedly flowed, the avenue being its ancient bed. The avenue in many places is over 100 feet high, with innumerable domes extending probably 1,000 feet towards the Earth's surface. Think about that, guys. The avenue in many places is 100 feet, with domes, regular arch domes, extending over 1,000 feet. I mean, think about that. You're fitting the largest buildings in America inside there, no problem. Beautiful pillars of alabaster, millions of stalactites and stalagmites dazzle the eyes like so many diamonds, while the beautiful frostwork formations assumed 1,000 fantastic and bewildering shapes. To our eyes' astonished and bewildered senses. On and on we went for a distance of probably 3 miles. The cold was getting more and more intense. A thermometer carried by one of our party marked 8 degrees above zero. A terrible roaring noise prevented conversation. As we drew near, we discovered that it came from a subterranean sea that was dashing against the rocks with terrible fury, and that a number of icebergs were bobbing up and down in the turbulent waters, striking the sides and domes of the cave. The mystery was now explained to us. We had descended to the level of the sea and found that all out beyond the cave was utterly hollow. The icebergs had cut domes hundreds of feet high and withstood on the bank of a subterranean, and we stood, my apologies, on the bank of a subterranean sea. The icebergs undoubtedly entered at the Great Maelstrom or Whirlpool of Norway, or one of a similar nature in the Arctic regions. I'm going to read that again. The icebergs undoubtedly entered at the Great Maelstrom or Whirlpool of Norway, or one of a similar nature in the Arctic regions, and are thus singularly preserved in this great subterranean storehouse of nature. That's pretty crazy. Believe it or not, this isn't the first time I've come across material like this. There's been subterranean lakes, not necessarily oceans and not at this depth, that breathed and their tides mimicked the ocean, and that they also were found to contain icebergs. And if you remember my Anomalous America Washington episode, I cover a subterranean sea that they find there as well. On the gravel bed of the subterranean ocean, they find petrified boats, and they don't dare explore them. They're not prepared to do so. And similar temperatures. And I've correlated that these underground oceans or seas or, lakes are connected to other sources, of course, and that they have proven that they are connected by tidal drift, tidal currents with other bodies of water. There were cave systems in our Mississippi episode where the water uh, followed the ebb and flow of the Mississippi River, and they were hundreds of miles away from it. Same with the Missouri River. These subterranean seas are monstrous, I would assume. And the mere fact of this author goes as far as to correlate a Norway maelstrom somehow being connected with this is just, it's an out of this world kind of idea and concept, and seems probably a bit silly, but to me, after reading so many of these, I just think that's incredible. In a large bay, which we subsequently discovered at the end of another avenue, we saw several eyeless sharks, also an eyeless whale, which proves that the waters are full of animal life corresponding to the eyeless fish of Mammoth Cave. We have just emerged from the cave after an exploration of 24 hours, and I hasten to telegraph these particulars with more thoroughly explore cave tomorrow, with quite an army of citizens, and telegraph additional information. The owner of the cave, Judge T. R. Mabeth, has just refused an offer of $50,000 for the cave. Representatives from the various papers of Louisville are here, and full particulars of this great discovery will appear in their respective journals tomorrow. Wow. Let me tell you what, they don't appear. They don't appear. I've looked through all of those perspective corresponding newspapers, and they don't appear tomorrow. Whatever explorations came of this subterranean ocean, they were no longer made public. So, unfortunately, a side effect of coming across something so magnificent is often you're no longer allowed to write about it. Even in the 1800s, that was the case. But yeah, I hope this piqued some of your interests. And for those of you seeing this who are new to my material or haven't had a chance to watch Anomalous America, um, I really look forward to seeing you on Tuesday, and hope you can make a live showing. And if not, there's what 15, 16 episodes now that you can watch with tons of material similar to this: subterranean worlds, oceans, giants, sepulchers, temples, you name it. And if you haven't seen my video from yesterday on You Won't Believe What They Found Beneath the Mississippi River, is the Mississippi the original Nile River? I would definitely check that video out. It's doing fantastic. Lots of really positive comments. And yeah, pretty stoked on that one. That was part of my Missouri episode, but due to bad audio quality, I re recorded it, and it was worth it for sure. So, again, to all my regular subs and regular listeners, thanks again. And to all the new people out there, welcome. And make sure to leave a comment if you want me to do a more cave focused type of series. And we'll maybe just break down and do like an hour-long episode of some more of these cave systems, because it could take up the entire Anomalous America episode. So I'm just going to highlight a few of what I've found, and I think it'll be a big focus what they found in these cave systems, but there's so much more to talk about. So, yeah, thanks for joining me for this quick little video and have a wonderful Sunday, guys.